New videos every day.
Life, wisdom.
Parents have been convinced that many of the normal behaviors are somehow pathological and that it's imperative for children to be drugged when they have mood swings. I mean, who's ever had a child that didn't, we used to call them terrible twos. Mm-hmm. You know, the children would start screaming, they'd have temper tantrums, they'd cry uncontrollably, they would act out, hit things. That was called terrible twos. But now, you know, they're oppositionally defiant, or they are ADHD, or they have autism spectrum, or some other thing that they're given, you know, a mental illness diagnosis so that they can be drugged. And the same thing, you know, it's the same thing as when I was a child and kids didn't come and play with us on the playground. We were told they were shy. Well, now they're mentally ill and they have social anxiety disorder and they need to be drugged. So I think it's really the onus of society as a whole that we are pigeonholing the potential of children. We are pigeonholing the behaviors of children. And quite frankly, it's an attack against our children. It's an attack against childhood because we want them to behave like little adults now. We want them to be, you know, well-mannered in oversized classrooms that are hot and stuffy, where they're teaching non-creative curriculums where we have to just memorize and repeat and parrot everything that we're told. I mean, a child's meant to be outside playing, meant to be creating things, meant to be developing. And if they can't do that, they're going to develop maladaptive behaviors. That's just common sense. But now we have them overstimulated by sitting in front of the television all day. And they're also playing video games. They're not outside breathing fresh air. They're not playing at recess like we did at school, because now they have to be fearful that somebody's going to bully them or sell them drugs on the playground. So they have to stay in school all day long. There are no outlets for creativity, no outlets for expression. And that's the reason children are acting out. And yes, I do put a lot of the onus on parents because it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to just take a prescription to a pharmacy and fill it and drug your child. And I've had people get really, really angry at me when I advocate for children on the, you know, and get in their face about it, because they say, well, you know, they're disrupting school and everyone else in the class has a right to learn and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that's fine. Then let's just wrap a rope around them and gag them and put them there in the chair where they can't run around the room and they can't talk to anybody. And of course, they look at me like I've lost my mind, because you certainly wouldn't do that to a child. But they'll do the same damn thing with chemicals.
Right.
And they don't care if they're brain damaged. If it comes to, you know, they're going to get kicked out of school and I'm going to have to homeschool, or they're not going to be allowed in the daycare center and I'm going to have to stay home and take care of them, then it's a judgment call. It's your responsibility. It's your responsibility as a parent to determine whether or not that child's life and that child's future is worth you keeping that job you have, or worth you not taking, you know, the time and the effort to go and find another alternative for these kids. We're being bullied into doing things to our children that are against the common sense of parents. And I'm trying to reach out to parents and say, stop it. Stop buying into it.
I think it's very interesting that you would make that comparison of, oh, we'll stick them in a chair, you know, plug their mouth up, tape their mouth shut, tie their hands together. And a parent would say, I would never do that. I would never do that.
People recognize that as child abuse, but they're not recognizing that giving children major chemicals that essentially work just like a straitjacket. That's what they're designed to do. Right. They cause dyscognitive function. They cause people to be apathetic. They cause people to be compliant. So this is a social control mechanism. And if people aren't going to recognize that, then they need to step aside and let me educate others.
Right.